Gonna do this news of the weekend edition a little bit earlier than usual. I usually do it either on Saturday evening or Sunday afternoon. But since there's been so much news that has happened since I last done a news of the week episode, I am gonna do this one a little bit early. And the first news I'm going to be talking about is Orlando City, who continue to make their case that they are the champion of the offseason because they have just signed Peruvian international goalkeeper Pedro Gallese. And yes, that's the same goalkeeper that started with Peru in the Copa America final last year. And this is also the same goalkeeper that has been started for Peru in the World Cup game. So this is an absolute amazing signing, and that I have a feeling he could be one of the best goalkeeper in the league. And that, again, Orlando City, they just continue to prove that, not only they're the off-season champion, but they're really serious in terms of finally ending this playoff drought that they have and finally making the playoffs for their first time in their franchise history. The Chicago Fire signed Robert Barrick as a DP from San Etienne. So in the last news of the week episode, this was actually a rumor that the Fire might sign him to replace Nemanja Nikolic there in the striker position. And I'm kind of surprised that it only took him 3 days for them to make this official. Judging by the fact that unlike Orlando City, whenever you hear a rumor and most likely it's going to come true and that player that they've been rumored with will eventually sign with the team, that can be say the opposite with the Chicago Fire. Like, it seemed like there's just been so many rumor with the Chicago Fire and that players are going to there and eventually it never kind of materialized. This one, it actually materialized, and I'm going to be interested to see how he's going to do. He's going to be a DP, which means that there's going to be a lot of expectation, and, from what I heard, he was pretty decent when he was with San Etienne and with a couple of his former club that he has played with in Europe, so something tells me he could be a decent replacement for Nikolic, and that, again, since he's a DP, I think there's a lot on his shoulder to perform and be a lethal striker like what Nemanja Nikolic was with this team. Minnesota. So the Loons have finally started to open business. And I was kind of worried as this offseason go that two of my favorite team is going to virtually do nothing, and it makes me very nervous whenever you have teams that do nothing and expect to do well in the upcoming season. But it seemed like Minnesota finally opened their business in terms of off-season acquisition, because a couple of days ago, and I believe it was Thursday, they announced that they are going to acquire Tyler Miller in exchange for $200,000 allocation money to LAFC. I'm not quite sure why it says from. It should say to there. And they also acquired James Musa, a central defensive midfielder from Phoenix Rising in the USL. And, obviously Minnesota, they have solved their goalkeeping situation. And that, I think, with the signing of Tyler Miller, that means we can basically say goodbye to Vita Manone. And I know it's hard, the fact that, Manone is going to be no longer with this team because he was just so amazing with the Loons. But he did ask for a DP contract, and that if you're an MLS goalkeeper and you ask for a DP contract to your club, then that basically is a death sentence saying that, yeah, you're not coming back with our club. Like, there basically is an unwritten rule in MLS that, if you're going to sign a DP player, it cannot be a goalkeeper. And if you break that cardinal sin kind of rule, then you're going to have a similar experience to what the Rapids did when they decided to sign a DP goalkeeper in Tim Howard, and look how that ended up in the last couple of years. But, it's good the fact that Minnesota did not fall into that trap and that they acquired Tyler Miller, who, I know I said that he kind of had some shaky moments in LAFC, and there's no doubt he's not as good as what Vita Manone was with the Loons, but he's a very smart option, and I like the fact that Minnesota decided to get a guy that, for $200,000 allocation money and get one of the better goalkeeper in the league, that's not a bad deal, and I think this will work out perfectly. And that the other bonus about this deal is that they don't have to burn an international spot in this in this deal. The other guy they got, James Musa, I heard he was a very decent defensive mid with Phoenix Rising, who is a club that is basically the LAFC of USL, because like LAFC and MLS that broke the record for the most point in MLS, I think Phoenix Rising last year also broke the most point in a single regular season in the USL, and a lot of that can be helped with the fact that they had a 20-game winning streak, and they had the longest winning streak in USL history. So glad Minnesota finally started to open some business, and now I'm hoping the Loons can start thinking about getting attacking option. I haven't heard anything about Luis Armiola coming to the Loons yet, although I heard that the deal is getting very close to complete. And I also have heard that they are announcing potentially a DP attacker on Wednesday, so hope that DP attacker could either be a striker or a central attacking midfielder, because we desperately need some attacking option, especially in the striker option. Now, Minnesota has also decided to extend Adrian Heath contract to 2022, and I know Loons fans has been kind of being a little bit negative in terms of seeing Adrian Heath have his contract to 2022. But, I don't think this is bad, the fact that Heath is going to be staying with the Loons until 2022, and that I don't think Adrian Heath is a bad head coach. I mean, I get the hate that he gets with the Loons because of what happened in the first two seasons, but you got to remember, the first two seasons, Minnesota was basically playing a USL squad, or albeit they were playing an NASL squad because they used to be in the NASL, and when you decided to put a second division squad every single week, yeah, you're going to give up a ton of goals and not have a lot of wins during those times. So, and I just feel like any other good head coach that takes over that Minnesota team from their first two seasons, I have a feeling most of them will not able to get that team to the playoffs. So I'm not going to fault Adrian Heath for the reason why the Loons were so bad in the first two seasons, and that it's proven that as long as he has a decent squad, which Adrian Heath was given last season, a pretty decent squad, and he did relatively successful with them, getting them to the playoffs for the first time in their history, and also getting to the US Open Cup final, he could be a very decent coach. So I like the fact that the Loons decided to extend his contract, even though I know there's going to be people that are not very happy the fact that Heath is going to stay with this team for a couple more years. Atlanta United acquired Edgar Castillo off of free agency, and I know there are Atlanta fans are not happy about this because Edgar Castillo is kind of like a outcast and kind of like a journeyman, but he's a veteran left back that I think could add some more depth with Atlanta, and especially with their back line and how this offseason their back line seems to just completely got destroyed because of guys either retiring or no longer with the team. They need to add some more depth into it, and I think getting Edgar Castillo, a veteran left back, will help in terms of trying to get more depth in terms of the Atlanta back line. The Whitecaps acquired Colombian winger Christian Dejima, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and this is another good acquisition for the Whitecaps, and this is what the Whitecaps need to do in terms of getting their rebuild done. And I have a feeling they have figured out their mistake that they made last year when they tried to get a couple of unknown South American players to come to their team and hope that everything will work out. Whereas this time, not only they're looking for South American talent, but they're looking for South American talent that has been proven that could work in MLS. And I have a feeling Christian Dejima, from what I heard, he was very decent when he was with some of his former club. I think he also played with Caribbean ones. So yeah, I think this is a good acquisition, and that I think the Whitecaps, when you look at some of the signings that they've been making this offseason, it is very promising that they are going to have a better season than what they did last year. Now, for the last couple of days, we also had a couple of contract extension, and as it is the case with News of the Week from now on, whenever players get contract extension, and especially multiple players get contract extension, I basically just kind of list them out instead of putting it on individual bullet point. So for this week or for the last couple of days, we got Tim Melia, Ishmael Tujuri-Shradi, and Mark McKenzie all received contract extension with their respective club. Tim Melia is going to be extended to 2022, and I have a feeling he's probably going to be with SKC until he retires. Like, this is a guy that's been with SKC, and he's kind of a icon at that club, and I won't be surprised the fact that he's going to be retiring with that team. Ishmael Tujuri-Shradi, his contract is going to be extended to 2022 at NYCFC, a guy that is a good piece in terms of depth for this NYCFC attack. And Mark McKenzie, obviously knowing the fact that the Union have already sold off a couple of their defensive pieces, they need to kind of hold on to a couple of the young talented piece that they have, and Mark McKenzie is one of those young defensive player that I feel like this season he should get more time to play with the team, because knowing the fact that Austin Trusty is no longer with that team, that should open a spot for him to play in that role. So yeah, those are the 3 players that got their contract extended to 2022 with their respective club in the last couple of days. But moving on, in terms of the next announcement, and, you know, I was going to eventually do a video in these last couple of days. And the reason why in the last couple of days I haven't done a video is that I was thinking that Chicharito was going to sign with the Galaxy in the last couple of days, and that I was going to make a single video talking about it. But since there has no official announcement in the last couple of days that the Chicharito have signed with the Galaxy, that's why I haven't really been making a video, and that there really isn't a lot that I could like talk about or make a single video on the last couple of days. Although I will say this deal with Chicharito coming to the Galaxy is getting pretty close. I have heard some rumor that this deal might not actually happen because of the complication it has been, and that it seemed like there's a little bit of a contract dispute between Chicharito and the Galaxy. But I've also heard some rumors saying that this deal would definitely happen, and I think LA Times, which is the source that says this, that he could be the most expensive player in league history. So currently, I think it's not Michael Bradley anymore. It used to be Michael Bradley as the most expensive player in the league because, you know, he had that $6.5 million contract, but since TFC didn't win MLS Cup, and that $6.5 million contract has been reduced to, I think, around $1.5 million, and that Bradley now has a TAM contract. I can't remember who was the other player that was the most expensive player in the league history. I'm tempted to say Carlos Vela, but I don't think that is the case. But what will be the case is that he could be the most expensive player, and they said that there is a range around $6.5 or $7 million that he is going to get per year. And it's not surprising, the fact that the Galaxy will have to fork a ton of money for Chicharito, because this is a guy that, you know, I think with this contract situation and the reason why it's taking so long for this contract agreement to be made is I think Chicharito wants to make sure he is paid very well when he comes to the Galaxy. And keep in mind, you know, when you go to LA, and especially if you join a California team, you know for a fact that you're going to have to pay a lot of income taxes, and that $6 million in California is completely different than $6 million to, let's say, Kansas City or something like that, or something in the city that has relatively cheap kind of living costs. LA is one of the highest living cost city in the US, and I definitely are not surprised that Chicharito want more money, because not only he wants to live in LA as one of the richest athletes in that city, but he also wants to make sure he gets enough money that he can actually live in a luxury when he joined with the Galaxy. So I think this deal will eventually happen, and it's just going to be a matter of time. Maybe next week is finally when the announcement is going to make. The Columbus Crew have signed Sebastian Burkhalter as a homegrown player. And yes, Sebastian Burkhalter is the son of the current U.S. men's national team head coach, Greg Berhalter. And one thing that I'm really hope fans of, not just from the crew, but also fans in MLS, or if you're a U.S. men's national team fan, is that don't just put so much expectation on this guy. Like, I remember when Michael Bradley, when he come into the league and also going overseas, that a lot of people were putting a lot of expectation because, you know, he was the son of what used to be the U.S. men's national team manager, Bob Bradley, and that, you know, there was a lot of expectation that he needs to do well. And if he doesn't do well, we're going to criticize him and say that he is not good enough with the U.S. men's national team. Now, if Sebastian Burkhalter eventually find himself to be in the U.S. men's national team or eventually go overseas, I just hope we don't have the same treatment we give to Bradley. I mean, I know many U.S. men's national team fan, and I myself have to admit that I have been a critics of Bradley in a couple of the times when he was with the U.S. men's national team. But at least when I criticize him, it was during the time when he was one of the most experienced player, and it's just kind of mind-boggling how much of a cliff that he has fallen off ever since he's turned 30 years old. And that, yeah, you know, that I think is rightful criticism for a player like his stature. But for a player that I think he's going to continue to develop, maybe one day with the U.S. men's national team at a young age, I hope fans won't just completely criticize him and saying he's not good enough just because he is the son of the current U.S. men's national team head coach, and that there's more expectation if that is the case. Inter Miami. So it's been a while since I have actually talked about Inter Miami. I know a week ago or in the last episode, I think I touch on the fact that I haven't talked about Inter Miami a lot, and they kind of had a streak of almost like 10 news of the week episode where I have to at least mention them once. But they're back with some more rumor that they are planning to sign, as this week or the last couple of days they were reported to bid for Argentine center back Nicolas Figo. That should be an S there. I accidentally spelled his name wrong, but they're planning to get Argentine center back Nicolas Figo. I believe he's currently playing with Independiente. Now, I'm not quite sure if this deal is going to happen, and that I'm not sure if Inter Miami is going to break the bank in terms of signing a center back like him. Like, if they offer the right amount of price, I can see this happen. But if they're going to offer right around a DP range kind of price to get this guy, that is a bad idea. And especially with Inter Miami, when you look at their back line, it's pretty decent. I mean, I think they have relatively good depth in terms of their back line. They don't really need to think about signing a star center back. Obviously, it will help to get a star center back there, but I thought their star center back is going to be Roman Torres, and a guy that, since he was just such a leader when he was with the Sounders, he's going to bring that leadership to Inter Miami too. And if he's not the leader of that team in the back line, then it probably might be Luis Robles in that goalkeeping position. Another guy that was such a leader with the Red Bulls and can bring that leadership and control the back line. I just think that Inter Miami don't need to have another big kind of center back that they think that he could be kind of like the leader of the back line, and that they already have those kind of players there. Orlando City has opened their new training center. So Orlando City, you know, this week they decided to just continue to put good news after good news after good news, and that they decided to open a new training center, which, you know, I haven't really seen a lot of rendering on that. They just literally announced, and they kind of did a ribbon cutting ceremony of that. But, you know, I have a feeling it's going to be very lovely, and that Orlando City joins the rank of many of these elite MLS clubs that have their own training center. And, you know, for people who think that, oh, teams opening a new training center, what's the big deal of it? Well, the reason why it's a big deal of it is that you get modern amenities in terms of players training in these training center, and you most likely could attract more marquee kind of player to your team, because you will not only show that you're gonna be the team that could compete for MLS Cup or compete in the playoffs. But you also have a state-of-the-art training center that, in case if you did get injured, we can help you recover as fast as possible with our brand new shiny training center. And also, this state-of-the-art training center is just as good as the one that you used to with your former club. So that's why I think having a new training center for Orlando City and for any club that's gonna get a training center, and the Quakes have to be eventually one of those clubs that's gonna have to get a training center, because right now the Quakes, their training center is basically a couple of soccer fields next to the railroad and next to the parking lot of Avaya Stadium, which actually it's not called Avaya Stadium anymore. And I probably should have added this in the news of the week too, where the Quakes, their stadium is no longer called Avaya Stadium, and now it's going to be called San Jose Earthquake Stadium. But I have a feeling that could change very quickly, because I heard on Wednesday they're going to announce that they might be getting a sponsor for either the stadium name, or they might get a sponsor for the jerseys that they're wearing. So yeah, meanwhile, moving on to the last news of the week is that Nashville has unveiled their inaugural season jersey, and unfortunately I don't have my phone with me. Actually, I do. It's actually over here. Let me just kind of show you guys the jerseys that Nashville has released. And I know some people are gonna complain about this jersey because it looks kind of bland. Let me just show you guys here if my camera can capture it. There it is. There it is. So yeah, this of course is the new Nashville jersey. It kind of looks a little bit similar to the Columbus Crew jersey, but I understand people kind of complain the fact that it's bland and it looks like a banana kind of kit. But for me, I don't think it's bad as what people said. In some way, I kind of like it, the fact that it's clean and it doesn't have like these crazy kind of patterns that I see in some MLS kit. Now, I will say this: if I've seen this kit, I'm not going to just immediately say that this is a kit that I must have before the season begin. I might wait a couple of months, or maybe wait till next season before I buy this kit, or I potentially would either go to the counterfeit market to buy one of these jerseys. But it's not a jersey that I'm gonna say I immediately want to buy this jersey. And that I know MLS jersey, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that. A lot of people think that Adidas and MLS should stop their partnership in terms of producing these jerseys, because most of these Adidas jersey has been just horrendous, and especially with the away kit, like almost 3/4 of away kit in each, or 3/4 of the away kit that each team has is basically just a simple white kit, and it just feels very, very boring when you see so many away kit that each team has is just a plain white kit with maybe a little bit coloring, whether if it's from the pattern or the stripes that they have on the top of the sleeve, or it's one of the color of the sponsor that they have on their jersey. So yeah, still I don't think it's as bad as people have said. Like I read here in the comment section, people said that some people said that, is that a training kit? It kind of does look in some way like a training kit. Some people say that it's bland, which yeah, it's kind of bland. There's not really a lot of pattern except here, up here on the sleeves. There's like a little bit stripy thing, which again, this kind of reminds you a little bit of the Columbus Crew jersey. But still, I don't think it's bad as some people have said. But certainly, it's not one of the best that most of the MLS kit that is produced by Adidas. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I'm not quite sure why the camera just kind of got blurry there. There we go. Yeah, just fix it. Technically I didn't need to fix it because I just finished talking about all the news, and that you guys are pretty much caught up with all the news that happened in the last couple of days. But still, if there's any news that I missed that I forgot to put here on the board, let me know in the comments below. I will be happily react to some of the news that I didn't mention in this news of the week. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.